Hi, Paul and Bhargav. Good morning. It's Friday, the 2nd of June. Here's the heads up brief for today. For the Southeast Asia production, we covered 19 issues. In North Asia, we covered 5, and for Australasia and the Pacific Islands, we also covered 5. In South Asia, we covered 15 issues, plus the major issues in Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
In Thailand, a senator has warned of large pro-royalist protests if the Move Forward Party leader Pita becomes prime minister. He said that this would invite chaos into the country and warned that a repeat of the May 2014 takeover could be warranted. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha also warned the Move Forward Party against amending the Royal Defamation Law, saying that the military, police, and civil servants are against it.
Okay, that's a pretty strong statement right there. It's basically stating that, a new emerging party isn't going to change the history and traditionalists and the culture of Thailand. What's particularly daunting in this particular scenario is that the Western media and pundits, all of whom love to go to Thailand for a holiday because of its uniqueness, are all judging it through their own lens. What is most certain is there's going to be an incredible amount of intrigue before a coalition and a leadership is chosen. And depending on who holds the power in that coalition, a return to civil unrest and the impacts that ongoing political unrest has on Thailand's economy could well return. And it goes back to that, depending on which side of the bread you butter it. Some people refer to it as coups, others to necessary political interventions. Of course, there are invisible hands working behind the scenes. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not leading to a healthier and more stable Thailand. So I think one needs to be very careful on reading the Western media, most of which is biased and ignorant in terms of the historical dynamics that are driving Thailand and that have driven Thailand for so long. So let's just see how it unfolds. I think the analysis you've been popping out for our clients is very, very good. And you've got all bases covered on that, Uday. I have been reading it, looking at bits of input, but it's very good. Go ahead.
Thanks, Paul. Moving over to Myanmar, the Ministry of Defense of the National Unity Government announced the formation of a battalion that will be used to carry out missions in Yangon. The newly formed Battalion 501 is the first official NUG PDF for the Yangon region.
Okay, so let's just look at how capable and competent that proves to be. If you don't have to have graduated from Duntroon or Portsea or Sandhurst or West Point or VMI to actually understand the concept of relative strength. I mean, most kids get that lesson pretty early. But in military terms, a battalion, roughly 1,000 people trying to conduct operations is ultimately what it is a part of the People's Defence Force being formalised under the National Unity Government. It's probably going to get a stark reality check on how many forces there are in Yangon. And whilst I'm neither a proponent or a supporter of the current military government in Myanmar, we need to look beyond aspirations and to the deep realities of relative strengths when it comes to mounting some kind of useful operations. Thank you. It's a great heads up. I'd missed that. Thank you.
In Timor-Leste, President Jose Ramos Horta yesterday said that he wants the new government to take office on the 18th of June, later this month. He wants to expedite the coalition forming so that the new government can take over.
Look, that's wonderful news. I hope it occurs because Timor-Leste's had way too many kids of privilege at the helm taking the privileges of being in government, but not doing the work that requires the passing of bills and the foresight and the strategic vision to run a country. So I hope Horta, Janana Gusmail, CNRT and the PD can move on and get the country moving. It's got a massive issue to deal with in terms of the dysfunctional revenues because of the delays on tapping the Greater Sunrise resource, and also the previous government tapped into the petroleum fund, which is supposed to be the revenues coming off that capital is supposed to be running the country. So there's a lot of work to be done. The quicker it gets started and quicker Timor-Leste starts moving forward again, the better. Thank you.
In Papua New Guinea, a report from the country's National Intelligence Organization said that around $84 million out of $180 million allocated for last year's election budget did not reach the Electoral Commission. The opposition has started criticizing the government over this, calling for a public audit of where the funds have gone. Prime Minister James Marape said that he is unaware of the report.
Well, and look, I mean, it's on the back of the issue you mentioned yesterday about the Singaporean-based gold company and PNG. There is neither logic, ethics, integrity, or any sanity behind that. Thanks for the extra information you sent to me. But look, unfortunately, the situation in PNG is that those in power of running the country are more about running up their bank accounts. So it's a horrific indictment of the flow of funds, but it continues to be situation normal. Tribalism and Marape and feathering one's own nest have become synonymous with his government. Thank you.
In South Asia, in India, groups in Tamil Nadu have threatened protests if Karnataka goes ahead and builds a dam near the Kaveri River. Officials from the Karnataka government have recently been making statements that they will try to resume the project.
This has been a long-running issue, and the river sharing dispute has been a primary bone of contention. But the point to note here is it all depends on how much of political mileage the political parties in power or in the opposition want to derive out of such a dispute. In both states, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, the issue has died down quite a bit since early 2000s when there were riots and roadblocks along the major highways connecting the two states. If it does boil to such an extent, which is very unlikely, businesses will be hit as these are highly industrialized areas, including major manufacturing plants on both sides of the border.
Right. And in Pakistan, according to Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah, former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is expected to return to the country soon. He said that Nawaz has the right to lead the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, his own party, ahead of the upcoming general elections.
This was expected much earlier once Shahbaz Sharif took power, his brother, as prime minister. So let's see how this evolves, because the opposition is decimated with Imran Khan's top leadership fleeing him. So I do not see this as a major escalation, politically speaking.
In Europe, Polish authorities yesterday suspended freight traffic and closed Poland's eastern borders to trucks from Belarus and Russia. The closure came after the Polish Interior Ministry announced restrictions on trucks, tractors, trailers, and semi-trailers registered in Belarus or Russia.
I don't think this will affect the Russian or Belarusian economy. They have proven to the world that sanctions doesn't really matter to them. Domestically, they're strong enough to support their own currency and economy.
Right. And the Russian military said that it had repelled more cross-border attacks near a town in Belgorod Oblast yesterday. A far-right Russian paramilitary group has claimed to be fighting inside Russia. There were clashes earlier this month also in the same region.
There seems to be a delusion among those who are supporting Ukraine in the region that they can actually counterattack Russia in Russia. History has proven time and again, whoever tries to do that are doomed to fail, not just fail, but doomed to lose their own empire. So I don't think that lesson has been learned by the West.
Thanks. That's the heads up brief for today. Anything else from you?
Nothing else from you there. Thank you.
No, nor me. Thanks, Uday. Let's have a chat after this. Thank you.